Hello and welcome to DD India. It's a Friday morning and we're back once again with a fresh edition of Breakfast News. I'm Preeti, with me is Rukma, and this is the one comprehensive show we get for you every morning to make sure that your day begins on the right note. We get you national updates, international updates, we get you also updates from the world of business, sports, a web news review, a history segment, enough to keep you engaged for the next 1 hour to make sure that your tea or coffee right in the morning tastes even better.
Very well said, Preeti, and a very good morning to you and to all our viewers as well. As Preeti just said, we are here to bring you the news that will shape your day today. On the Breakfast Show, we'll be talking about the Prime Minister's visit to Italy and the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom in Glasgow for the United Kingdom for the COP26, and in Italy for the G20 meet. A lot of engagements on the Prime Minister's agenda. All those details we'll be bringing to you from our reporters on the ground. All the COVID updates from across India and the world as we slowly emerge out of the pandemic and our vaccination coverage expands further and further. News from sports, G20, badminton and much more. But first, the headlines.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on a 5-day visit to Italy and United Kingdom. Prime Minister to attend the 16th G20 Summit in Rome, also to hold meeting with Italian counterpart Mario Draghi, says he will participate in dialogue on pandemic, sustainable development, global economy and health governance.
Prime Minister Modi to also attend World Leaders Summit of COP26 in Glasgow. COP26 will explore possibilities of further accelerating clean growth in a push for timely implementation of Paris Agreement guidelines to limit global temperature rise.
Centre extends COVID restrictions till November 30th to prevent further spread of pandemic. States asked to maintain utmost vigil in respect of mass gathering events. Also, Centre to procure 30 crore COVID vaccine doses in the month of November. Aims to administer 12 crore doses during Har Ghar Dastak Maha campaign.
Finance Ministry releases 44,000 crore rupees to states and union territories with legislature to compensate for GST. Release is in addition to normal GST compensation being released every 2 months out of actual cess collection.
In cruise ship drug case, Aryan Khan gets bail from Bombay High Court. Munmun Dhamecha and Arbaz merchant to be released as well. NCB witness Kiran Gosavi detained in fraud case.
WHO appeals to G20 countries to fund poorer nations for fight against COVID-19. Call has come ahead of meeting of group of 20 leaders in Italy's Rome, while Britain to remove mandatory quarantine on arrival from red list countries. New travel measures to come into force from the 1st of November.
Facebook rebrands as Meta to emphasize metaverse vision, aims to encompass its virtual reality vision for the future. Founder Mark Zuckerberg says he expects the metaverse to reach 1 billion people within the next decade.
In T20 World Cup, Australia beat Sri Lanka by 7 wickets, registering second win in the tournament so far. In today's matches, West Indies will be up against Bangladesh. In second match, Pakistan to face Afghanistan.
Indian shuttlers register outstanding performance at the French Open badminton. PV Sindhu enters quarterfinals with an easy win, while Lakshya Sen enters quarterfinals. Samir Verma retires.
And now let's take a look at the news in detail.
Yes, Prime Minister Narendra Modi left for a 5-day visit to Italy and United Kingdom. He will be visiting Rome, Italy and the Vatican City at the invitation of Prime Minister of Italy, Mario Draghi. Following which, he will travel to Glasgow, United Kingdom on 1st and 2nd of November at the invitation of UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Prime Minister will attend the G20 Summit in Italy. Prime Minister Modi's departure statement gives an insight into the main issues that will be prominently highlighted by India during the two important summits. About the G20 statement, Prime Minister's statement says, and I quote, "I will join other G20 leaders in discussions on global economic and health recovery from the pandemic, sustainable development and climate change. This will be the first in-person summit of the G20 since the outbreak of the pandemic in 2020 and will allow us to take stock of the current global situation and exchange ideas on how the G20 can be an engine for strengthening economic resilience and building back inclusively and sustainably from the pandemic. During my visit to Italy, I will also visit the Vatican City to call on His Holiness Pope Francis and meet Secretary of the State, His Eminence Cardinal Pietro Parolin. Also, on the sidelines of G20 Summit, I will meet with leaders of other partner countries and review the progress in India's bilateral relations with them. Also, at the 26th Conference of the Parties, that is COP26, to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Prime Minister will be participating in the high-level segment of COP26 titled World Leaders Summit on 1st and 2nd of November, along with 120 heads of states and governments from around the world. The statement says, and I quote, "In line with our tradition of living in harmony with nature and culture of deep respect for the planet, we are taking ambitious action on expanding clean and renewable energy, energy efficiency, afforestation and biodiversity. Today, India is creating new records in collective effort for climate adaptation, mitigation and resilience and forging multilateral alliances." India is among the top countries in the world in terms of installed renewable energy, wind and solar energy capacity. At the WLS, I will share India's excellent track record on climate action and also our achievements. I will also highlight the need to comprehensively address climate change issues, including equitable distribution of carbon space, support for mitigation and adaptation, and resilience building measures, mobilization of finance, technology transfer, and importance of sustainable lifestyles for green and inclusive growth. COP26 Summit will also provide an opportunity to meet with all the stakeholders, including leaders of partner countries, innovators, and intergovernmental organizations, and explore the possibilities for further accelerating our clean growth.
Ahead of Prime Minister Modi's engagements in Rome, Indian Ambassador to Italy, Dr. Nina Malhotra, talked about key issues of bilateral cooperation between the two countries. Talking exclusively to DD India, Dr. Nina said PM's visit will further provide impetus to India-Italy ties in areas of culture, politics and energy.
Despite pandemic, there has been an increase in the Italian investments in India. At the level of parliamentarians also, there has been a lot of interaction. Italy has set up what they call India-Italy Parliamentary Friendship Group. On the cultural front, we are celebrating the festival of India in Italy and Italy in India simultaneously. This year we had the first International Yoga Day celebration in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs building in Italy. On the multilateral front, Italy has joined International Solar Alliance, India's initiative. And energy, I would say, is one of the most crucial area of our cooperation. And this is an area where I see a further scope for enhancement of our relationship. So I feel PM Modi's visit provides a tremendous opportunity to take forward the momentum that has gathered in the last few years, both bilaterally and in the context of our shared global responsibilities.
And up next, we take a look at what all is lined up for Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the first leg of his visit to Italy, where he will take part in the G20 Summit. That is the most powerful grouping in the world, covering 80% of the global GDP and 60% of the world's population. India is a founding member of the organization and has always raised the issues pertaining to developing countries. Prime Minister is likely to highlight the issues ranging from global health governance to the issue of tax evasion to climate change and more. We get to in this report.
As leaders of the 20 biggest economies of the world gather here in Rome over the weekend for the 16th G20 Summit, they will be primarily focusing on achieving global health and economic recovery, sustainable development and climate change. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during his interventions at the G20 sessions, will stress upon setting realistic and achievable targets and countries then honoring their commitments. He could also appeal to the developed world to reduce their divergences with the developing world and look at climate financing and put in a model for achieving transfer of technology and climate financing, especially to the developing and the least developed countries.
In the first leg of his visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will attend the G20 Summit in Rome, Italy from 30 to 31st of October at the invitation of the Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi. The summit will be attended by leaders of G20 countries, the European Union and other invited countries and representatives of international organizations. This time, the focus is going to be on economic recovery after the corona pandemic.
Italy's theme for its presidency is People, Planet, Prosperity. It's actually comes from the 2030 UN Agenda for Sustainable Development. There are 5 Ps here, but Italy has chosen to retain the 3 Ps as being the theme for the G20 Summit. And the focus of Italy is on recovery from the pandemic and strengthening global health governance, economic recovery and resilience, climate change and energy transition, and sustainable development and food security.
This will be the 8th G20 Summit meeting of Prime Minister Modi as Prime Minister. Before that, Prime Minister Modi has represented India in this conference 7 times. India is a founding member of the G20 organization and has always raised the issues pertaining to the developing countries. Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla added that India has been a party to reforms in global institutions from global governance. Referring to the efforts made by India at the time of corona, the Foreign Secretary said that India will put issues like global health governance on the G20 platform.
The thrust of the upcoming summit will be on economic and health recovery, climate change and sustainable development. We are now close to the 2nd year of our dealing with the pandemic. Obviously, the devastation it has caused cannot be overstated. It is therefore not surprising that the Italian presidency has kept its focus on recovery and of course economic and health recovery both. They have already set the stage for an ambitious agenda on global health governance with a parallel focus on recovery from the ongoing crisis and preparing for the future health crises that may emerge.
The Foreign Secretary said there will be inclusive talks on many pertinent issues including tax evasion and climate change. India will also call for consensus among the countries on the basis of approval of the authenticity of the vaccine so that people do not face inconvenience in international travel.
There is unanimity in the G20 on building back from the pandemic by focusing on job creation, skill development, and I think this is an important part of the overall discussions and the agenda that will be there. Women's empowerment, increased participation in women's workforce, also for international travel. I think that is an important point. Resumption of international travel through mutual recognition of national vaccine documents. This has been our proposal, and there is strong support within emerging market economies in the group in this regard.
Prime Minister Modi will also hold bilateral meetings with the heads of many countries during his visit to Italy and Glasgow. The G20 organization represents 80% of the world's global GDP, 75% of global trade and 60% of the world's population.
This year's theme, People, Planet and Prosperity, primarily means health recovery as far as people goes, prosperity, economic recovery and planet, climate change. Amritpal Singh, DD India, Italy.
Our correspondent Amritpal Singh has sent this report from Rome Plaza in Italy, fighting back from the COVID pandemic and organizing the first in-person G20 summit in the pandemic times in context of G20 agenda of human and economic recovery. Let's listen in.
I'm in the heart of the Italian capital, Rome, where a lot of people have come out on the streets. It's a scene which is very different from what it was a year and a half ago. In January 2020, two Chinese tourists from Wuhan carried the coronavirus to Italy, and Italy became the epicenter of the deadly COVID virus. In fact, more than 1.3 lakh deaths took place because of the COVID-19 crisis here. And as world leaders gather here in G20, the heart of the 16th G20 Summit will be recovery from COVID-19. What the leaders meet and talk and discuss is what we see out on the streets of Rome, where a lot of tourists, a lot of people, local residents now come out. Italy has bounced back from it, though its economy was hit largely. It has come out of it and has been able to organize the 16th G20 Summit, which is the biggest conference of world leaders anywhere in the world during the pandemic times that is taking place. In fact, the last G20 had to be held virtually because of the pandemic, and this is a sign of changing times. And this is what would be key on the agenda of the G20 leaders when they meet here over the weekend in Rome. With my colleague Pradeep Galotra and cameraman Rakesh Kumar, Amritpal Singh, DD India, Rome, Italy.
All right, our correspondent Amritpal also talked to some British tourists in Italy on how Italy has come out of the severity of the pandemic and also now is hosting the G20.
Talking about the progressive normalization that Italy is seeing, in fact, whole of Europe is seeing. I have with me two English tourists, Malcolm and Chucklan. Malcolm, how do you see the situation now when it comes to COVID? And both of you decided to come from the United Kingdom to Italy here in Rome for tourism.
I think the world is learning to get back to normal. I think that there have been great strides in coping with the COVID virus. It's far from over, but the other side of the coin is everybody wants to get on with life. And I think it's very relevant in Rome, which is one of the livelier cities in Europe. Yeah. And it's very pleasing to see.
I think things have advanced. We know what to do as much as we can, obviously, to be as careful as we can. But I think we just have to take the advice where it's given and try and lead a normal life along with it.
Prime Minister's second stop will be Glasgow in the UK to attend the COP26 summit. World leaders will gather to take stock of collective climate action to check global warming. UN few days suggests that the world needs to do much more to avert an impending climate catastrophe in the coming decades. As the Prime Minister presents the ambitious climate targets and environment-friendly initiatives by India, he is likely to present the key challenges faced by developing countries in mitigating climate change. Here's more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit UK to participate in the World Leaders Summit of COP26 in Glasgow. COP26 UN Climate Change Conference will take place from 31st October to 12th November 2021 in the UK. In the light of the worldwide effects of COVID-19, it was decided to reschedule the conference initially slated for November of 2020.
It is expected to be attended by heads of state and government of more than 120 countries. So fairly wide representation at this summit. By way of background, the UNFCCC concluded in 1992. It embodies the global will and vision to combat climate change. For 3 decades, the UN has been bringing together almost every country in the world for global climate change summits called the Conference of Parties. These Conference of Parties provide opportunity for stock taking, charting the way forward to combat climate change.
On the sidelines, Prime Minister will have key bilaterals with world leaders, including UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, PM Modi will address the Leaders Summit and along with UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson jointly launch the ambitious transnational solar grid initiative, One Sun, One World, One Grid.
One of the important events is the launch of the Global Green Grids Initiative, the One Sun, One World, One Grid of the International Solar Alliance. The Prime Minister will also separately launch the Infrastructure for Resilient Island States, or IRIS, an initiative of the Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure for island countries. This is primarily for small island developing states. This will be launched with the two other co-chairs, the UK Prime Minister and the Australian Prime Minister.
Prime Minister will highlight India's climate actions and engage with many leaders for completion of Paris Agreement implementation guidelines, mobilization of finance, actions to strengthen climate adaptation, technology development and transfer and importance of sustainable lifestyles.
COP21 in Paris did have certain commitments that were to be fulfilled. I'm happy to say that India has been one of the best performers in the G20 as far as meeting commitments of COP26 are concerned. We are well on our way to meeting our NDC commitments and even doing better than that. So from our perspective, our commitments have been very much in place. Not only have we committed to NDCs at Paris, we have also made unilateral, I would say, announcements that really set the benchmark much higher.
UN Climate Change Conference COP26 is a crucial opportunity to achieve pivotal, transformational change in global climate policy and action. COP26 comes against the background of widespread, rapid and intensifying climate change impacts which are already impacting every part of the world. The meeting comprises 26th session of Conference of Parties COP26. Bureau Report, DD India.
Meanwhile, in the run-up to the G20 Summit in Rome, Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal met Finance Minister of Singapore, Lawrence Wong. The two leaders had an engaging discussion on closer bilateral cooperation by deepening trade and financial ties between India and Singapore. Earlier, the minister held a bilateral meeting with the European Union Sherpa, Jean Serbiak, ahead of the G20 Summit. Both the sides discussed joint role of India and the European Union in enabling global economic and health recovery amidst the pandemic, with key focus on trade and sustainable development.
Let's go live now across to Pune, where Chief of Army Staff General Manoj Narvane is addressing the passing out parade of the 141st course of the National Defence Academy.
This magnificent parade, your precise drill movements and flawless display have charged up the drill square and filled our hearts with pride. It brings to mind that the more things change, the more they remain the same. Even as the fly past is a testament to the changing character of war, the parade is a testimony to the fact that boots on ground are as relevant today as they were 4 decades ago. The proud parents and relatives, I share your joy and immense happiness on this occasion. I wish to thank each and every one of you for deeming the armed forces as a worthy carrier for your children. These fine young men of strong resolve and character bear testimony to your years of hard work and commitment. You have raised them with love and affection. Now we have taken on that role. They were your children till yesterday, there are ours from now on. जो कल तक आपके बच्चे थे, वो आज से हमारे हैं. We should nurture them, cherish them, and even admonish them. But we should always be with them, in sun and snow, in bad times and good, in war and in peace. It is an equally proud moment for the instructors and staff of the Academy who have worked day and night to mold you into responsible professionals who shall uphold the sovereignty and territorial integrity of a nation across land, sea and air. They have steered you during this acutely challenging period of the pandemic to ensure that you meet the highest standards of the armed forces. Going on, as we open the portals of the National Defence Academy to women cadets, I expect you all to welcome them with the same sense of fair play and professionalism that the Indian Armed Forces are known for the world over. The National Defence Academy is a cradle for leadership and jointmanship for the armed forces of the nation. This foundational training at the Academy is rooted in the very best of tri-service ethos, practices and traditions. The bonds of camaraderie forged at the Academy have withstood the test of time. Today, as you stand to inherit this rich and illustrious legacy of courage and valor, be reminded of the Academy motto, service before self, that must remain your guiding mantra for times to come. From here on, you shall step into your respective service academies for more focused military training. You shall don different uniforms, but always remember that no single service by itself can fight and win modern wars. As you rise in rank and responsibility, learn to appreciate each other's strengths and capabilities. The bonds that you have formed here need to be continuously nurtured, not just socially, but also in the professional arena. During the course of your careers, there will be many trials and tribulations, joys and sorrows. If you can face each of these struggles with equanimity and emerge stronger and wiser, you will have indeed lived up to the expectations and the trust reposed in you. Always be true to yourself, for, and I quote, when you get what you want in the struggle for self, and the world makes you king for a day, then go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say, unquote. Another important matter which I want to impress upon you is your professional development. As cadets, we often harbor the impression that serious studies are behind us now. However, new developments in niche technologies are transforming the very character of war faster than ever before. Therefore, it is very important that you keep yourself abreast of these changes through regular professional education. Physical stamina would need to be matched with technical prowess and a constant thirst for knowledge. But knowledge without imagination is no good. In order to keep your mind alert and active, develop interests and hobbies that suit your temperament. It is only by acquiring these qualities that you will be imaginative and be able to think outside the proverbial box. You may soon have to lead your troops in battle. Your soldiers will bestow unflinching trust and faith in your leadership.
All right, so that was Army Chief General M.M. Narvane presenting encouraging words to the cadres there on the occasion of the passing out parade of the National Defence Academy, that is the 141st course of the National Defence Academy.
And back to the bulletin now. The Home Ministry has extended the COVID-19 restrictions across India till the 30th of November this year to prevent any further spread of the pandemic. Earlier, the ministry had asked states and union territories to focus on the five-fold strategy of test, track, treat, vaccination and adherence to COVID-appropriate behavior. States have also been asked to maintain utmost vigil in respect of mass gathering events to avoid any possibility of a surge in COVID-19 cases.
In a major boost to the COVID vaccination campaign across the country, the centre will procure 30 crore COVID vaccine doses in the month of November. The government will get 6 crore Covaxin, 22 crore Covishield and 2 crore Zycov vaccines. Har Ghar Dastak Maha campaign will be conducted from 2nd November to 2nd December. Under this campaign, 12 crore doses will be administered. As part of this campaign, healthcare workers will conduct door-to-door vaccinations of people eligible for the second dose, as well as those who are yet to be administered their first jab as a shield against the virus.
Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai attended the celebrations to mark the Kannada Rajyotsava that falls on November 1st every year. The Chief Minister also sang along Kannada iconic songs at an event held in Hubli. Week-long celebrations are being held across Karnataka to mark the Kannada Rajyotsava that is celebrated every year to mark the formation of the state of Karnataka. Several events are being held across Karnataka to celebrate the day. Nearly 5 lakh singers sang the iconic Kannada songs penned by 3 poets at 1,000 locations. Elected representatives, IS, IPS and UPSC officials also participated in the mass rendition of Kannada songs.
Veteran film star Rajinikanth has been admitted to a hospital in Chennai. Sources close to his family say that he had been admitted when he went for a routine checkup. The Kaveri hospital, where the 70-year-old actor is admitted, is yet to issue any statement in this regard. Rajinikanth, who received the Dadasaheb Phalke Award a few days ago, had returned from New Delhi after meeting President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The actor, who underwent a kidney transplant in 2016 in the US, pulled out of politics months before Tamil Nadu Assembly elections in 2021, citing his ill health and COVID situation. The actor was admitted to Apollo Hospital in Hyderabad in December 2020 during a shoot following variations in his blood pressure.
The Bombay High Court has granted bail to Aryan Khan and 2 others accused in the cruise ship drug case, but the son of Bollywood superstar Shah Rukh Khan will have to stay in jail for 1 more day due to lack of a detailed order of the court. In another development, High Court has given major relief to NCB Zonal Director Sameer Wankide, directing Mumbai Police to give him notice of 3 days in advance if arresting him. For more, we are joined by our correspondent Yogesh Sheetal. Yogesh, a very good morning to you. Relief there for Aryan Khan.
Yeah, good morning, Rukma. That's right, that today he is likely to come out from the jail because if the order dictation is completed by 5 and by 5:30, if the bail bond has been basically bail order is submitted to the NDPS court, and then it would be submitted to the jail authority, and then the process is there. So it will take some time, and it also remains to be seen that at 2:30 around justice would be starting dictating the order. So detailed order is expected today, and after that the further proceeding would be started. Also, one important thing, it is also very interesting to see in fact that what are the conditions of bail, because NCB, Narcotics Control Bureau, has placed for stringent bail condition for Aryan Khan, and it will be specified in the detailed order today. Maybe there are, if you say the possibilities, maybe that Aryan Khan is asked to surrender his pass.
All right, Yogesh, also for the benefit of our viewers, let us know how does the case proceed on from from here on. This is indeed a very important important part of the case wherein these they have been granted bail. Now what next from here on?
See, what next? I think after bail is granted and certain conditions, are imposed there, I think the next procedure is to frame charges or file the charge sheet. So whether NCB has to file a charge sheet within a period of 90 days or whatever the code specifies. So that charge sheet is important because what are the charges that are leveled against Aryan Khan that NCB has to produce in the court, and then there will be an argument on the charges whether these charges are applicable for Aryan Khan or not. If these charges are not applicable, then he may be discharged before the trial, and if the charges are applicable, the court survives the charges, then he'll have to face the trial, and later on after conviction or acquittal, there are two options there. So that is the further procedure from this point.
And Yogesh, also tell us more in detail about where the case that was evolving against Samir Wankhede, where does it stand as of now?
See, Samir Wankhede has filed a PIL, in fact, under 226 basically. He had requested the court to pass an order that there should be an inquiry which should be conducted by whether NIA or whether CBI, basically by the central agency. But court didn't consider that plea, and in fact, we can say that his plea was denied. Second important thing is Mumbai Police has, in its reply, Mumbai Police has said that 3 days notice would be given to Samir Wankhede if he was to be arrested. So these are two things. You may take it in this way that this is a setback for Samir Wankhede, but also in positive terms, you can say that Samir Wankhede will have some time to give his submissions, and also he may move to the Supreme Court now. So at this point in time, this remains to be seen that what is the process of investigation, because we know that KP Gosavi, one of the punch witnesses, which is in fact a punch witness, but also an accused in a different case which is lodged against him in 2018 in Pune. So he has been arrested and he has been sent to police custody for 8 days. So currently he is in the custody. So there are many technical things which are attached with this case so far.
All right. Thank you so much, Yogesh, for joining in with those inputs. That was our correspondent, Yogesh Shidal, telling us more about what could be expected ahead as the Bombay High Court has granted bail to Aryan Khan. We'll keep you updated. Up next, let's turn focus to international updates in our segment Across the Globe. Let's take a look at the COVID situation from across the world first. So far, more than 24 crore 62 lakh people have contracted the virus, while the number of recoveries stands above 22 crore 31 lakh globally. The virus has claimed over 49 lakh 95,000 lives across the world. The United States continues to remain the worst affected country by the pandemic, where the number of cases have crossed 4 crore 66 lakh, while the death toll remains above 7 lakh 63,000.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has appealed to leaders of the 20 biggest economies, the G20 leaders, to fund a $23.4 billion plan in the fight against COVID-19 in poorer countries. UN Secretary General said the G20 should fully fund the latest round of the program, which aims to provide vaccines, drugs and tests to the poorest countries until September 2022, expected to include use of an experimental oral antiviral pill made by Merck and Company for treating mild and moderate cases. The WHO's call has come ahead of the meeting of the group of 20 leaders in Italy's Rome.
Britain will do away with the mandatory COVID-19 quarantine measures on arrival from red list countries. Britain's Transport Minister Grant Shapps said that the country will remove the 10-day-long mandatory quarantine on arrival from the 7 red list countries from 1st of November. The 7 countries include Colombia, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Haiti, Panama, Peru and Venezuela. The minister also said that 30 more countries would be added to a list of nations whose COVID vaccinations are recognized by Britain, taking the total to more than 135 countries now. Britain has more than 89,36,000 cases of COVID, with fatalities crossing 1,40,000.
In the United States, hundreds of fire workers of New York City staged a protest outside the mayor's residence, raising their discontent over the mandatory COVID-19 vaccination directive. New York's Mayor Bill de Blasio issued a deadline last week for over 50,000 employees of New York to submit proof of COVID-19 vaccination. Those who fail to show proof risk being sent home without pay. Some call the mandate an infringement on their personal liberties. New York alone has more than 26,28,000 cases of COVID in the U.S. The U.S.'s cumulative COVID-19 cases have crossed 4,66 lakh, while the fatalities stand at above 7,63,000.
With the recent massive surge in the COVID infections in Russia, shops, restaurants and schools have been shut in Moscow in a partial lockdown as Russia battles record COVID deaths and infections. Only essential shops like supermarkets and pharmacies are allowed to be opened in the capital, while food outlets are only providing takeaways. Authorities have also given workers across Russia 9 days off from Saturday in a bid to curb infections. Russia has reported a record 1,159 deaths from COVID in the past 24 hours. The official data also reveals 40,096 new cases in 85 regions of Russia. Russia's last major lockdown was in June 2020. Russia's overall COVID death toll in the pandemic is officially more than 230,000, the highest in Europe and one of the highest in the world as well.
In some other international news, social media giant Facebook Inc. unveiled a new name and logo at its headquarters in Menlo Park in California on Thursday, replacing its thumbs-up-like logo with a blue infinity shape. The company announced it would rebrand as Meta, a name change that underscores its ambitions to refocus the world's largest social network on building the metaverse. The rebrand comes as the company battles criticisms from lawmakers and regulators over its market power, algorithmic decisions, and the policing of abuses on its platforms. CEO Mark Zuckerberg, speaking at the company's live-stream virtual and augmented reality conference, said the new name reflected its focus on building this new virtual realm rather than its namesake social media service. The tech giant says the change would bring together its different apps and technologies under one new brand. However, it said it would not change its corporate structure.
To reflect who we are and what we hope to build, I am proud to announce that starting today, our company is now Meta.
In the U.S., a complaint of sexual harassment has been filed against former New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo in a court in Albany. Cuomo had resigned as governor in August after 10.5 years in office, following a probe that found he had sexually harassed 11 women. New York Attorney General Letitia James said that a 5-month independent investigation concluded that Cuomo had engaged in conduct that violated federal and state laws. However, he has strenuously denied the charges and claimed that he was the victim of a political vendetta.
And in climate-related updates, we begin with an update on Spain's La Palma island, where the Cumbre Vieja volcano has stepped into its 6th week of activity, having begun on the 19th of September. Large plumes of smoke rose up from the volcano on the island on Thursday, again encouraging bystanders to watch and take photos. A volcanologist with Spain's National Geographic Institute said the volcanic activity was likely to increase inside La Palma's exclusion zone, but lava flows were unlikely to reach the sea. Nearly 7,000 people have had to evacuate their homes in La Palma. 5.0 magnitude earthquake has been recorded, the highest since the eruption began. Lava flow now covers surface area of over 900 hectares, according to Copernicus radar imaging, with more than 2,200 buildings destroyed. Over 35,000 earthquakes and tremors have been recorded in La Palma over the past month.
Globally, climate has been taking catastrophic turns. The Democratic Republic of Congo's Environment Minister said on Thursday the country intends to ban all log exports and implement other measures to lessen the threats to its carbon-absorbing tropical rainforest, a major bulwark against climate change. Home to a majority of the world's second largest rainforest, Congo is under pressure to improve forest management and also curb a high deforestation rate that has doubled in the last decade. The Congo Basin rainforest, 60% of which lies in Congo, sucks approximately 4% of the global carbon dioxide emissions out of the atmosphere annually. The Environment Ministry's plan to lift a 2002 moratorium on the new industrial logging concessions has dismayed environmental groups and scientists who have warned of catastrophic environmental, social and climatic impacts. All right, up next we get you all the news from the world of business in Biz Buzz.
The Finance Ministry has released 44,000 crore rupees to the states and union territories with legislature under the back-to-back loan facility in lieu of GST compensation. After taking into account earlier release of 1,15,000 crore rupees, the total amount released in the current financial year is 1,59,000 crore rupees. The ministry has said this release is in addition to normal GST compensation being released every 2 months out of actual cess collection. Subsequent to the 43rd GST Council meeting held on 28th May this year, it was decided that the central government will borrow 1,59,000 crore rupees and release it to states and union territories to meet the resource gap due to the short release of compensation on account of inadequate amount in the compensation fund.
And up next, taking a look at US stocks, Wall Street closed higher on Thursday, boosted by gains in Apple and Amazon ahead of their earnings reports, while solid results from companies including Caterpillar and Merck helped ease concerns about slowing economic growth, denting the profits. High-profile stocks like Tesla, Apple and Amazon boosted the Nasdaq and helped propel the index to a record after the S&P 500 and Dow reached fresh peaks earlier in the week. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 239.79 points to 35,730.48. The S&P 500 gained 44.74 points to 4,596.42, and the Nasdaq Composite added 212.28 points to 15,448.12. Now, all the major 11 S&P sectors closed higher, with real estate, consumer discretionary, and also the industrials leading the gain.
And time now to take stock of what's trending on the World Wide Web in our next segment, the Web News Review.
All right, for this, Vikas is joining us this morning. Vikas, good morning. Let us know what all you've picked up for us in this segment.
Good morning, Preeti. So the first story is related to Prime Minister's visit to Italy and Glasgow, and most of the national press has reported about PM's both visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Yesterday, PM made a statement about what he expects from the world community at G20 and what kind of concession developing countries will seek at the 26th meeting of UN Conference of Parties at Glasgow. So, most of the websites have reported these events. The next story is also related to the COP26. Before departing for the meeting, Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav has clearly said that India will push its agenda of climate justice at the UN COP26. That what kind of concessions should developing countries get, and the transfer of technologies and other kinds of subsidies must be given to developing nations. So he also clarified what will be the agenda of India at COP26. The next story is related to the controversy of Aryan Khan. Aryan Khan got bail yesterday, but stories related to the NCB investigation are still, you can see they are being reported by many websites, where the regional director of NCB has said that he wants a CBI investigation against all those allegations which are being leveled against him by some political leaders, and some ministers of Maharashtra government. He said that he believes that CBI will be the appropriate agency to probe all those allegations. He doesn't have faith in the local police. The next story is related to the recent development in China, where China has clarified that that the new law will not impact his arrangements with India as far as the LAC is concerned. Recently, Ministry of External Affairs has expressed displeasure over a new law in the China, where China has said that it has brought a new legislation to deal with the land in mainland China as well as the border area. Next story and the last story is related to Facebook. Now Facebook has rebranded itself and now it will be called as Meta. It is being speculated for a very long time that Facebook is looking for rebranding itself, and yesterday Mark Zuckerberg made a public announcement that now Facebook will be known as Meta, and there were several new features in this new application. Some people say that Facebook is trying to rebranding itself because of recent controversies related to the fake news and other controversies. So this is a kind of rebranding. So that's all for now today. Back to you, Preeti.
All right, Vikas, thank you for joining in with that web news review.
And now for some sports news in our next segment, Sports Track. Australia defeated Sri Lanka by 7 wickets in a Group 1 Super 12 match of the ongoing ICC T20 World Cup in Dubai on Thursday. Kushal Perera and Charit Asalanka scored 35 each, while Bhanuka Rajapaksa provided the big hits towards the end of the innings, remaining unbeaten at 33 of 26 balls. As Sri Lanka made 154 for 6, Australia chased down the target in 17 overs, with opener David Warner smashing 65 of 42 balls.
Meanwhile, 2 matches will be played in the T20 World Cup today. Bangladesh and West Indies are set to cross swords today at the Sharjah Cricket Stadium. The Caribbean team, led by Kieron Pollard, have had a disastrous campaign till now, having lost both their games against England and South Africa. Now, the Tigers are also yet to open their account after back-to-back losses at the hands of England and Sri Lanka. On Wednesday, that is October 7th, England beat them by 8 wickets. The second match of the day, Pakistan will look to move closer to a semi-final spot when it takes on Afghanistan in a Group 2 Super 12 game. Babar Azam's men will start as favourites against Mohammad Nabi's Afghanistan, which began its campaign with a 130-run win over Scotland. Mujibur Rahman, with his variety of off-breaks, googlies and carom balls, finished with 5 for 20. Such was its dominance that by the time Rashid Khan, the number 3 ranked T20 bowler in the world, came on to bowl, Afghanistan was already on course for a big win.
An ace shuttler, PV Sindhu, defeated Danish player Line Christophersen in straight sets to advance to the third round of the women's singles event at the French Open Super 750 tournament on Thursday. Meanwhile, young and rising star Lakshya Sen also advanced to the men's singles quarterfinals with a straight game victory over Singapore's Loh Kian Yew. But Samir Verma retired midway due to an injury at the French Open 2021.
All right, up next we take a look at the events which made this day special in history. It's Friday today. All right, in today's episode of Saga of Freedom, we will pay tribute to social worker Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay. She was inspired by Gandhian ideals and non-violence. Kamala Devi is known as Hatkarga Ma for her works in the handloom sector. Also, we will talk about the establishment of the Central University, Jamia Millia Islamia.
29th October is the death anniversary of the great freedom fighter and social activist Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay. She passed away in 1988 in Mumbai at the age of 85. Greatly inspired by Gandhian ideals and the concept of non-violence, Kamala Devi joined the Gandhian organization Seva Dal after her return from England, where she studied at the University of London and received a diploma in sociology.
She enrolled herself in the nationalist struggle as a member of the Congress party. Kamala Devi was charged with the violation of the salt laws and was sentenced to a prison term. She captured the nation's attention when, in a scuffle over the Congress flag, she clung to it tenaciously.
Kamala Devi became the president of the All India Women's Conference in 1936. She was a great author, and her first writings on the rights of women in India date back to 1929. One of her last books, Indian Women's Battle for Freedom, was published in 1982. Kamala Devi is credited with reviving Indian handicrafts and handlooms. She stressed the significant role which handicrafts and cooperative grassroots movements play in the social and economic upliftment of the people.
Kamala Devi is known as Hatkargha Ma for her works in the handloom sector. She nurtured several national institutions promoting drama, art, theatre, music and puppetry. Kamala Devi set up the Indian National Theatre in 1944. What is today known as the National School of Drama. She was conferred with Padma Bhushan in 1955 and the Padma Vibhushan in 1987.
Also on 29th October in the year 1920, a premier institute of the country, Jamia Millia Islamia, was formed. Responding to Gandhiji's call to boycott all educational institutions supported or run by the colonial regime, a group of nationalist teachers and students quit Aligarh Muslim University, protesting against its pro-British inclinations, and laid the foundation of Jamia Institute.
The known freedom fighter and Muslim theologian Maulana Mahmud Hassan laid the foundation stone of Jamia Millia Islamia at Aligarh on Friday, the 29th of October 1920.
On 22nd of November 1920, Hakim Ajmal Khan was elected as the first Chancellor of Jamia. Muhammad Ali Johar became its first Vice-Chancellor.
Jamia participated in the Bardoli Resolution and sent volunteers across the country to motivate people to fight for the freedom of the country. The colonial British government soon imprisoned many of its teachers and students. In 1922, Gandhiji called off the non-cooperation movement and Mustafa Kemal Ataturk declared the end of the Khilafat in 1924.
At this time, Hakim Ajmal Khan, Dr. Mukhtar Ahmad Ansari and Abdul Majid Khwaja, the first trio supported by Gandhiji, shifted Jamia from Aligarh to Karol Bagh in New Delhi in 1925. Gandhiji boosted the morale of Jamia, saying,
"The Jamia has to run. I will go about with a begging bowl."
On 1st of March 1935, the foundation stone for a school building was laid at Okhla, a village in the southern outskirts of Delhi. In 1936, all institutions of Jamia were shifted to the new campus. In 1988, by a special act of the Parliament, Jamia Millia Islamia was made a central university.
Well, that's all we have for you in today's edition of Breakfast News. We hope you enjoyed our show. And as we go, we'd like to remind you once again, don't forget the battle against COVID-19 is still on. So get yourself vaccinated with 2 doses of the COVID vaccine as soon as possible. Always wear a mask when you go out. Avoid mass gatherings as much as possible.
Yes, remain cautious and act as responsible citizens for the country. Also, we leave you with good visuals every day to make sure that your day also takes forward these feel-good factors which are presented towards the end of our show every day. And today we take you to Mexico, where Dolores Olmedo Museum has set up a latest exhibit showcasing Mexican tradition of Day of the Dead. Now, before we end this edition, take a look at these glimpses of paper mache and also paintings in this museum. Take a look. Have a good weekend ahead. Bye-bye.
Namaskar.